Welcome back to the channel. We're going to continue working on the WD. I know it's been a while since I've had a video up on this. Just kind of been tweaking some things on it, and I got it running pretty good. So we're going to finish up by putting the hitch and get the back assembly on there and our fenders, and then eventually we'll be able to get the hood back in place there. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, stick around because it's coming up. All right, so I got it backed up in here into the shop area where I can access it with my tools, and I've got set up here. I'm gonna start putting on the hitch assembly first. Then once that's in place, we'll be able to slide our PTO shaft on there, get it buttoned up, and then we'll continue working on the back with the step and the lift arm assembly. I do not have the cylinders themselves rebuilt yet. I've got new hoses, but I don't have the cylinders rebuilt, so I won't be able to go ahead and attach those at this point, but I'll be able to get my hoses and everything ready for it. And then we will fix a few little leaks up here. I've got, I think, 2 of these manifold studs were leaking on the back side, and I thought I got it applied pretty well with the sealant, but evidently not. Had a little spot that leaked through. Need to get the rubber seals up here on my valve cover. Go ahead and get my valve cover fastened on down. Get my bolts here tightened up. I need to shorten those up a bit, so I'll cut those off, get them in place, and then yeah, we're pretty good shape at that point. I'm going to paint this tractor at some point. I've just got too much going on right now to tackle that. I need to get some other things tidied up here before I start that process. So maybe midsummer here, I can get this thing up to the sandblaster and get that stuff squared away so that we can paint it. But for now, I just want to get all the components that belong to this tractor back on it. I've got that 45 diesel getting ready to kick back off again. It's been a long time since I've had any videos on that, but I've had all my machine work being done, and everybody's so backed up right now. It took me almost 30 months to get my block and just my head done. So anyway, I want to get this project out of the way, and that way we can focus on the engine rebuild on that Buddha. But anyway, I'll flip over to time-lapse camera and kind of let it capture all this. There's not a whole lot of explaining to it. We're just putting the stuff in place, torquing up some hardware, and that's about it. So anyway, let's watch this thing come back together. All right, so we'll start out here with the hitch on the rear of the tractor there, get my brackets in place. And when I had that rear end housing everything out, I cleaned out all of my threads, so that's going to help me on reassembly. Also went through and added an additional PTO housing seal. I had just a few little drips on that, and I had another seal, so I put that thing in the opposite direction to make sure it sealed up on the diameter of the shaft. Here we're just getting the hitch assembly back in place, and it's kind of difficult, but I was able to get that thing kind of slid up in there using my floor jack and get it in position here, and then we'll get it anchored to the belly of the tractor. And then the release for your snap coupler is kind of tricky to fit between that frame rail, but it will fit. Got it torqued up, got the connections and everything made, and then I'm on the back here getting the hitch connected up. And then I'm going to get prepared here for the lift arms and get those in place and tightened up as well. Then once the lift arms are in place, I'm getting prepped up for my PTO shaft. The end of the shaft was a little bit watered, so I had to kind of clean that up in order to get it to fit on the end of the housing portion. And then get your bolt and everything in there to hold it, your shear pin. Putting on the back step. And then we're getting prepped up for the fenders. It's a lot easier to put those fenders on when the tires are off, so if you're in that position, go ahead and put those on prior to putting your wheels on. In my case, I was going to paint that, and I changed my mind, but I already have my wheels on, so took me a little bit. You can do it. I had to fish through an extension through the rim gap right up there to get that bolt. Okay, here I'm going back through after I adjusted my valves and getting my valve cover sealed up and getting the rubber portion on the bolt on the top there. And I'm getting ready to tackle those manifold bolts that were leaking. So I had to drain my water out. I'm just getting that cleaned up. Got those things sealed back up and tightened up where they should be, and got my leaks taken care of. And then on that Nelson muffler, the bolts that I had were too long, so I had to cut those down to probably about 3/4 of an inch in length, and then got that thing fastened onto that manifold the way it's supposed to be, and then topped off my fluids. All right, so you've been watching quite a bit of the remaining parts being put back on this tractor. I got the hitch on, PTO shaft, the back left arm portion minus the cylinders. Like I mentioned, I don't have those rebuilt yet. And then the step plate, and then I had a couple of leaking studs for the manifold that I just fixed right there towards the end, and made a few extra bolts there that need to be tightened up. Holding on the muffler, had to cut those down. Just didn't have the right length, and I topped it off with some fluid for right now. So what I want to do next is go ahead and fire this thing up and let it run just a second here. And I know in the other videos you have heard the first start, but let me go ahead and start this thing up real quick, and then you can listen to it. Assembly that we just put on the fenders. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to let it warm up here. I'm going to check those bolts that I just recoated with Teflon tape that's holding on that manifold, make sure they don't leak. And then once I'm confirmed that's good, then we'll go ahead and slide the hood back on this thing. And then we'll be in pretty good shape. All right, time to get the air cleaner installed. So we're getting that thing in position there so we can get the hood on. And now the sheet metal, last piece here and going on. And sometimes that can be fun getting all the holes to line up. So but it turned out pretty good. Got all the hardware tightened down. And then lastly, the strap around the gas tank. Hold down the back side of that sheet metal. And finalizing with a light there on the back and the step for the clutch I had taken off earlier. And then the battery box cover. All right, well, that just about finishes up this WD project. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have the left arms yet to rebuild and install, but I'm not too worried about that at this point. But anyway, turned out to be a pretty nice project. A lot of in-depth stuff with the motor, torque tube, rear end, tranny, all that good stuff. So if you're just watching this video, check out those other ones. We've got about a 40-part series here. Like I mentioned earlier as well, at some point in time, this thing's going to get a new paint job, and the rear tires have plenty of tread on them, but the side walls are pretty rough shape, so probably have to be putting some new rubber on it at some point as well. So another walk around here, just putting that sheet metal on in this last little piece. Battery box, had a light back here, reattached that. Turned out pretty good. So I guess at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up. Make sure we're neutral here. Alright guys, well thanks for watching. It's going to conclude my video on the WD Allis complete rebuild. Please hit like, subscribe, share the video, and leave a comment below. Have a good day.